Hi there, welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario, and I'm Marie. I am going to be starting a playlist of milk products such as cheese, sour cream, butter, and the reason for doing this is I do all of these products at home. We do not have a dairy animal, so we don't have a cow or a goat. So unfortunately, I do have to buy my milk. I wish that we in Ontario could buy raw milk because that would be my preferred milk product. Since from a grocery store, I try to find them, number one, on sale if I can. Very rare indeed. And also make sure that it is not ultra pasteurized. The minute you have an ultra pasteurized milk, you can no longer culture it properly. You've killed everything in it, basically. And the reason they ultra pasteurize is because the expiry date is so long and they make more money, of course. So one thing I do promote and think that every homesteader, and not only homesteaders, but every household should have on hand as a pantry supply is powdered milk. Powdered milk sealed properly can last easily 25 years, so it's one of those shelf-stable items that you need. Now, during this fiasco that we have just gone through in the past few years, people were having issues getting milk. You could go to the store and you could buy like 4 liters of milk. However, there were families, and I know a few of them, that they have several children. And a bag of milk with 4 liters in it lasts them a day and a half. So when they wanted to buy like 3-4 bags of milk, they weren't allowed. There was limits on that. And that really affected families. Yet if you had the powdered milk at home, you could just reconstitute it and use it. It does taste a little different, but at least you would have it. Now, I found a product that is Canadian, and they actually have whole powdered milk. You can buy it at Costco. It's called Medallion, or you could buy it directly from their website. This is not a promotion for them. I'm not sponsored by them, but I think it's a great product. The only thing that made me hesitate is the whole milk has an expiry date. So I can't say if that would work or not. But with my cheese making, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a little bit of experimenting. I have always made cheese at home with whole milk. What I'm going to be doing is everything that I make, I am going to have both the whole milk as well as I will do an experimental powdered milk. So come on this journey with me. I hope you enjoy this series. And if you have feedback, please share it in the comments because that will help us all. Let's go to the kitchen and work on our first batch of fresh white cheese, which is a traditional Portuguese cheese. It's called queijo branco. And when we were kids, my parents would go to the bakery and get us popsicle or crusty bread, and they would always bring home a fresh white cheese. It would either be cow's milk or goat milk. Goat milk to me was much more delicious, but we got what we got and we were happy to get it. Now let's make some of that at home. So let's get started. This here is my Homo fresh milk. I've just poured it in here, and with this recipe, I'm going to be using Rennet. I also have done these type of cheeses using milk with either an acid such as vinegar or lemon juice. But for this Portuguese fresh cheese, I find the best results come from rennet. Now you could use liquid rennet, powdered rennet, or tablet rennet. And today I'm going to use liquid rennet. And I have brought this milk up just to a warm. And it is currently at 38 Celsius, which is 102. And you don't want it any warmer than that. So to this, I am going to use liquid rennet. I could put links to these rennets You can grab them from Amazon. This one here is easy to mix in. You could also use the tablets, Junket tablets, or Rennet tablets. I'll put links to all of these. Like I said, I'm going to use the liquid Rennet today, and it is 3 milliliters of Rennet for 10 liters of milk. I only have 2 liters of milk here, so I'm just going to use under 1 milliliter, and I'm just going to put this into the milk, and I'm just going to stir to make sure it's nicely mixed in. My flame is off. I just brought the milk up to a decent temperature, and you want to make sure that that rennet gets really well incorporated. With some cheese making, you add water to your rennet so that it distributes better. For this cheese, I find that just adding the rennet directly to the milk works well. Mix it in well. You notice I'm not using a whisk because I don't want those bubbles to form at the top of the milk. And I believe we have done a good job here of mixing in. So all I'm going to do now is place this aside 30 minutes to an hour. Now, this here is powdered milk. I'm using the whole medallion powdered milk. And to mix the milk, what I find is best to do is double the milk powder to the water compared to when you're drinking it for when you're cheese making or yogurt making. So to make 1 liter, and I write it on my lid because I keep my powdered milk in a jar. So I write it on my lid so I don't forget or have to look it up each time. I need 2/3 cup of powdered milk and 1/3 cup of cold water to get it started. What I'm going to do is do 2/3 cup of milk 2 times. So I have 1/3 here. I've done 4 of these. Now I'm going to add in 1 1/3 cup of cold milk. Now this is just to get my powdered milk reconstituted, and after I've got a paste, I will add in another 2 cups of milk. This will make 1 liter. And normally I do at least 2 liters of milk every time I'm doing this. However, because this is my experimentation with the powdered milk and cheese making, I'm always going to do a little bit less to avoid waste. But you never know and you never perfect these things unless you try. So that was my 1 1/3 cup of cold water. And you can see, got a paste going. I want to make sure that's smooth. Again, I'm not using a whisk or an immersion blender because I don't want those bubbles. If I am reconstituting milk for drinking, I use my immersion blender, get the milk really nice, and then I put it in the fridge at least overnight to use the next day. And it tastes pretty close to fresh milk, this medallion. So even though, like I said, I'm not sponsored by them, I do think that they have an amazing, amazing product here in Canada. And Costco is carrying it, so just be aware of that. I believe it's only online though. So if you go Costco online, you can see you can buy it in 1 kilogram packages or 10 kilogram, which is what I had done when the fiasco hit, so that I could have these things at home. I've got a good creamy paste now. As you can see there, there's a couple of lumps, but generally it's a very creamy paste. I'm going to add 2 more cups of cold water. This is my 2-cup measure. And now what we're going to do is just bring this up to temperature the same as our fresh milk. I'm going to heat that up very slowly because we don't want to scorch. There is those lactose sugars in there that we want to make sure that we don't burn or get stuck to the bottom of the pot. So I'm just going to bring this up to temperature. Because this is 1 liter versus the 2 liters, I am going to use a half a milliliter of the Rennet. So while this is coming up to temperature, I might as well get my Rennet ready. I keep the liquid Rennet in the fridge so that it just keeps better. The nice thing of having the tablets or the powder is you don't have to worry about that. But I do like to experiment and use different types of products to see which works best for me. So I have a half milliliter ready to go. I'll put this away in the fridge while we're waiting. Now I actually keep my little syringe in the bag in the fridge with it, just so that I always know where it is and I know that it's used for nothing but the cheese making. And I'll put my powdered rennets away because we're not using those. Let's just see what we're at temperature wise, because this will come up to temperature very, very quickly. I'm going to shut that off because it's moving quick on the thermometer. We are at 36, and that is on the low side. Let me see what that is in Fahrenheit so that I can share it for our American friends. Okay, we are at 36, which is 98. We are good. So to this, I'm now going to add that little syringe of the Rennet. See how this works. And you know, this is real life on the homestead. So if this doesn't work, I'll be sharing that with you. I am not faking it here. So we've got it nicely mixed. And I will leave this as well for another half hour to an hour until it sets. Once we've got it mixed, we're not touching it. We're just going to leave it here, leave it alone, and we will be back in half an hour, and I will just move the pot slightly to see if it's congealed. So we will be back. My 30-minute timer just went off, and this is our fresh milk, and I'm just going to move this slightly, and it looks like it is coagulating well, but I'm going to leave it longer. And this is our powdered milk, and it's not coagulating as well, so we're going to leave this for an hour and come back and check it again. Doesn't hurt to leave it longer. It will hurt if you start processing it too soon. So the waiting time continues. I'm going to set my timer for another 30 minutes. Our 1 hour is up, and this is our fresh whole milk. And it does look like it coagulated well. One way to test it is you see for a clean break. And yeah, I'm getting a nice clean break. So I'm just going to cut the curd, and what this does is it just lets the whey separate from the curd a little bit better. And I'm just going to let that sit another 15 minutes. You notice I did not stir. Here is our powdered milk, and it doesn't look as nice. It doesn't look like the curd has set. As you can see, you get like a skin on the top, but it doesn't look very appealing. So what I'm going to do is I'll let this sit for another 15 minutes while the other curd here is separating. And you can see that now that I've cut it, how it's separating, the whey will come apart. See that? Perfect. And if it's not set at that point, I'm going to call it a fail. But I have done powdered milk with other cheeses and it does work, so it's worth the try and it's worth the trial and error. So let's just wait for this curds and whey to separate, and I will show you the next step of our fresh white Portuguese cheese. Another 15 minutes have passed, and this is our powdered milk. It has not set. I am gonna call this a fail, but you know, in the sake of experimentation, I think I'm actually going to bring it up to a higher temperature, add some of my apple cider vinegar, and see if I could get it to curdle. At least I can make some farmer's cheese out of it if that happens. But as a Portuguese fresh cheese, it is a fail. As I always say, this is real life on the homestead, and I try to share with you all my trials and tribulations. So as I am taking my powdered milk to a higher temperature so that I could add vinegar to curdle it, as I'm bringing it up in temperature, look at this. The curds and whey are separating. I don't even have to add anything. It's incredible. See that? It's turning into my farmer's cheese. So I'm not even going to add an acid. So something with the process doesn't work as well with the powdered milk, but it is not a waste. Look at that. I have got some farmer's cheese, and what I think I will actually do is I'll strain this and make some ricotta or cottage cheese out of it. But the milk has not been wasted, which is the most important part to me. I hate wasting food. Now I am going to show you how the other whole milk is doing, but I do want to use a separate spoon. I don't want to cross-contaminate. And our Portuguese fresh cheese is just, oh, it's looking beautiful. Look at that. That is perfect. That will go into cheese molds and a strainer. I don't have a lot of cheese molds. I do need to invest in some. But yeah, that is looking perfect. I'm gonna let that sit while I finish off with our powdered milk curds, and we will continue on. Now I'm very lucky. I have some very fine mesh strainers that I don't even need to use cheesecloth at times, and with this cheese the curds are big enough that I don't think I need to. Now I'm just going to pour those in. Look at how beautiful those are. And I just wanted to show you that this whey, people buy protein whey all the time. That whey will be saved for our animals because it's very healthy for them. There we go. We have some fresh ricotta made from powdered milk. Not difficult, not wasted. Just actually a pretty cool experiment. Here is our pot of the curdled milk, and as you can see, it looks really nice. There's a lot of liquid in there, but that's what we want. Now, just gonna move that out of the way. My mom had brought me back these cheese molds from Portugal. They're for individual sized cheeses. They have some holes in the bottom so that the liquid can drain out. The only thing I find is I don't have the patience for this, and she brought me back a pack, and a pack is only 3, and that doesn't feed anybody in our house. So what I'm actually going to do is I have to make it work. And I don't have cheese molds, but I have my Instant Pot steamer. That will be perfect for the size of cheese that I want. So what I'm going to do is place a tub underneath to catch the whey, and I am slowly going to ladle my cheese into this. And I'm hoping you can see, I'm trying to get this as close as possible so you can see how it works. So I'm going to slowly place these curds in here. so that the whey will drain out, but the cheese will remain nicely in the colander. And these holes are actually pretty perfect for what we're doing here. So I'm going to move along slowly. This will take about 2 to 3 days draining in the fridge to get a good process for this cheese. Now, to get really nice flavor, as you can see, I got about 1 inch in there. At this point, what I'm going to do is sprinkle some of my pink Himalayan salt on there for flavor. Not mix it in, just sprinkle. So I will do it at this midway point, and then I will do it again on the top, because that way it'll seep the flavor into the cheese. Now, in about 3 days when this will be done, and I'm constantly going to be draining the whey out of the pan, I will show you what our end product looks like. Well, it drained pretty good, but I had to move the cheese into the small molds. I was getting lots of whey and draining it out daily. This is the 3rd day, and now I find that I am getting a nice cheese. So I'm just going to unmold these to show you what they look like. The texture of this is like a silken tofu, very creamy, very light tasting. It's milder than a ricotta, and I just love these. I find that they're a breakfast serving. Each person gets one. Delicious. I always like to serve it with a sprinkle of salt on top, but a traditional way in the islands of Portugal is to put some pimenta moída, the pepper sauce that I make every fall, and that will give it a little spicy kick. And I do like it that way, and I like it just with a nice pink salt on it. Here's my pimenta moída. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful serving if you're ever doing this as an appetizer. Now that pimenta moída, I put a little bit too much liquid in, but you get the idea. So I'm going to pack away 2 of them and make sure that they are well sealed, because I want them to last. These will last almost a week in the fridge. They won't last that long because we'll eat them, of course. And I'm going to give it a little taste so that you can see the consistency of these. They're firm, but very, very light. Look at that. That's a perfect biteful right there. There's just so that you can see how firm the cheese is. It is firm, but very, very silky. And I'm going to put some on some bread, salt and pepper, and I am going to enjoy this. I hope you try this Portuguese cheese, and like, subscribe, and most of all, please share with your friends. That's how you help our channel. And we'll talk to you next time we do a cheese adventure. Now, as always, go out and live your best life.